Thank you so much, Josh. Item number 3, approval of the agenda and minutes for December 16.
I'll just make a point of adding that I was notified today by Ophir that he was not going to be able to be here due to illness. So we're working to reschedule item number 7 for February's agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve with that one revision.
Deb, approved.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Agenda approved. Agenda number 4, citizen to be heard. Do you want anyone on the line?
I'll do the roll call quick for that last one.
Please. Sorry for that.
That's okay. Connie Otten,
Yes.
Deb White,
Yes.
Mikhail Pauline Normandin,
Yes.
Elaine Cohen Pearson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Agenda number 4, citizen to be heard. Josh, do you have anyone?
No, we do not.
We move to number 5. Agenda number 5, law enforcement update. We have Sergeant Martin on the line.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have 3 things that I've been working on that I wanted to update you on that I have more than 3 things I've been working on, but 3 things that I think you might have some interest in that I wanted to talk to you about. First, last week, myself and 6 other officers and supervisors had a webinar with staff from Community Uplift Program over in Fargo. They brought in one of their experts, and we had a 2-hour training on transgender cultural competency that they put on. It mainly was focusing on youth, and so we brought in our school resource officers and put it out to Clay County school resource officers as well, and they joined in. So we had with them we had 9 people that were in attendance, and I thought that it went over very well. It's something that Fargo has taken on recently as well. I apologize for my phone ringing here. I think it's something that we'll continue to train on for years to come. Their trainer was exceptional. So if you or your employer wants any of the training, I would contact the Community Uplift Program over in Fargo. They were very easy to work with to get it all set up. The other thing that I've been working on for the last 3 weeks, and just had a meeting today at 4 again, is working with some community leaders in the Kurdish community, along with rape and abuse, to come up with a domestic violence awareness program to put out via a couple different social media sites to just get some more information out there to all the members of the community, and then post it on not just our site, but a couple other sites as well, to try to push some of that information out to help out a few more people. And then the last thing from this week is that I am back in the 2020 session, the state passed a statute requiring law enforcement officers to go through autism training. So I've reached out to the Autism Society of Minnesota to put on a 4-hour training where they would talk to about behavioral understandings and best practices, interventions, informing the officers of some more practices that they can use, some prevention, crisis intervention. Now, we do go through crisis intervention training already, but this would be specific to individuals with autism. So I hope to have that set up later on this spring or summertime and get the officers involved with that program. That would be something that we would continue to do on a yearly basis to get all of our officers through that training. That is the main part of the update that I have, unless other people have questions for me. All right, that's all I have then.
I think can you guys hear me now? Thank you, Sergeant Martin. Any question for Sergeant Martin? Hearing none, we're jumping for next item 6. Item number 6, guest speakers. We have Human Rights Award recipients, Kariat and Ahmed. Kariat, you want to go first, please?
Carrie, we can't hear you. If you could unmute yourself.
We are a new place, so we are just testing a lot of things, and
Yeah,
we can hear you
Okay.
now. Yes.
I'm good. I might have felt just a little moment of anxiety when you referred to me as a speaker. I I had an understanding that I was being invited to a conversation, so I hope I won't disappoint you if I didn't come with a prepared speech. I just came to engage in conversation about your work, and thank you again for the honor of being able to receive the award. Connie and I have had a few conversations about this. For me, this award was extremely humbling, and I'm very grateful to your. I'm very grateful to the commission, but I think because we live in a time when there just is so doggone much work to be done, that it's easy, I think, to feel like even though each of us has done some things, that it sometimes feels like a drop in the bucket. But it's been my pleasure, and I was reflecting today on this inauguration day that some of the deeper work that I've engaged in our community has been with our immigrant and new American citizens, and I actually really got involved with AADA and language classes 4 years ago, following our previous election, when I was quite frankly trying to figure out what to do with some of the energy I felt around just how to, I don't know, put love into action and make sure that we were just doing what we could to support our immigrant community, that I feel just so, I guess, impassioned about the strengths and the ways that immigrants in our community make us all stronger, and the ways that they all have so many gifts to bring us, and just knowing that sometimes it's portrayed the opposite. I do have a role with Moorhead Public Schools where I support our programming for English learners, the students in our district who are English learners, and working to, help continue to improve and grow our programming for English learners within the system. That role that I play is just part of a larger leadership role in the district. And I've not ever worked as an English learner teacher myself. And although I certainly have, had experiences, I think it's a role that I assumed, knowing that I could learn and grow into it. And so the opportunity to spend a lot of time volunteering as an adult language volunteer has been really powerful for me. And it also has helped me in my role of supporting teachers of English learners in my day job, as I've kind of tried to put myself in that role. And I myself am the speaker of one language, English. I don't have a second or a third or a fifth, or I don't have anything other than English. And I've never, I've maybe made some feeble attempts, but I didn't even take high school Spanish. And so this idea of really immersing myself in the deep understanding of what it takes to be not only new to a community, a country, a whole different way of life, but to be really trying to learn another language is humbling work for me. And I always just feel so in awe of the many people in my life who are multilingual and make it look easy, although it is not. So maybe another thing I would highlight, a part of my journey, and my daughter, Erica Yanni, who's a member of this community as well, that some of you may know, it was her that first volunteered at AADA as a language tutor, and then said, "Mom, I think you'd really get into this. Why don't you come with me?" And then I was the one who really, really fell in love with it. But the other thing that our whole family experienced as a result of getting involved with that nonprofit was to have our eyes opened to the many, many nonprofit organizations in our community that are largely run by, that have been initiated by people who are immigrants themselves and who are just really trying to support their communities in all sorts of ways. And again, I'd not really had much exposure to the heart and soul, the guts and hard work that it takes to keep a nonprofit up and running. And we have so many of these nonprofits in our community that I think I just had no awareness of, oh, something is really happening. Did I turn green for a moment? Because on my end, everything turned green. I guess I'm just touched by this idea of nonprofits that are largely initiated and run by immigrants who see the need for services that don't exist in our communities. And so our whole family, I think, has just really found some opportunities to educate ourselves and offer what we can to try to support those who we know we want to see thrive in our community to make us better as a whole community.
Thank you so much, Katie. We thank you, Erika and John, all of you guys, for the good work you guys do for this community. Ahmed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you for the members of the commission. I too have not prepared anything. I'm going to echo Carrie in her what she said. So I'm very, very honored and humble to have received the award with the work that I do in the community, and really appreciative of the community. I work at United Way. I have been at United Way for the last 2.5 years. And with my work, the work that I focus on is workforce development. And really what that is finding the efforts to collaborate with community networks such as immigrant-run organizations, as Carrie mentioned, because they do see the need in the community. So with what we do is I focus on that collaborative effort on really to determine how to align the services. And that has worked really great in the last few years that I've been here. I did collaborative effort with Ani. And what we have done with the Shara Growth and AADA is really focusing on helping individuals really gain skills to really get jobs that are family sustaining income, that pay family sustaining income. And the way that we do that is we partner up with schools such as M-State or NDSCS to really have individual state classes there, to whether it's CNA or whether it's manufacturing courses, so that they could really find the jobs that will pay a higher income and for their families. So that is the work that I have been focused on, in really working with our community nonprofits in collaborative effort to really remove barriers and align services. So, and that has worked out really great. The community here is, the community that I fell in love with. I actually lived in Fargo for the last 2.5 years, and I am calling this place Moorhead, Fargo Moorhead, my home now, because the community here is such a wonderful people and really great people to work with, and very diverse, growing community, which I really love. So that's why I'm very humbled to have received this award, and it's such an honor. I think that's all I have to say. It's just really appreciative.
Thank you so much, Ahmed. Thanks for the amazing job for both of you. Any comment or questions for Kerry and Ahmed? Deb, you want to go ahead, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I just wanted to thank both of our speakers, and we're so honored to be able to recognize the great work that you do in our community. And just actually, Carrie, listening to you reminded me very much of some of my own experiences. And sadly, one of the things that it brought to mind was the sad news this week about Lutheran Social Services. And, I've thought about that because I moved here 20 years ago from New York. And one of the things that I've appreciated so much about this area was the fact that it was a refugee resettlement area, and that it, I benefited in so many ways. I can see what a clear benefit it has to our economy, to the cultural vitality, but just on a personal level, like, raising a child here, and, I often think people would assume that New York is, your experiences in New York, that in upstate New York would be more diverse. And my son had so many more opportunities to, get to know other kids from different cultures and different languages and so many different things that he never would have had. It wasn't the experience that I had growing up in New York. And so, I feel so blessed to be able to have experienced that and be a part of this community. And my husband, who happens to be a meteorologist, has volunteered for years with LSS with every new group that came in, and was so sad when, in the last few years when there's been such an effort to clamp down on that, and so many people that should have been allowed here were not, and it was really to our detriment. And so I was really sad to see that that LSS is closing for many different reasons, but primarily because of their work with our New American community. And so I wanted to ask both of you, just as you're here, we value your work and your insight. And so in terms of what other things we could do as individuals, but also as the city of Moorhead, what are some of the gaps that you see? What are some of the things that we could be doing to advance the work that you're doing, and the work that we need to do to continue to make this a more welcoming and equitable community?
One thing that I wanted to add on that, with the work that I do with, especially with the COVID response, last year, 2020, really started out difficult, and really, it really impacted the immigrant community here. And one thing that we were able to recognize is, how do we respond to it? So with the work that I do, we collaborated with the immigrant communities and nonprofits, Afro-American Development, South Sudanese Community Foundation, and others, and partnered up with the city of Fargo. to create a partnership to really focus on how do we respond, because what we have noticed is a lot of immigrants, as Gary mentioned about ESL, there's a lot of households that do not understand the language because they speak their primary language at home. So it was really difficult to understand the directives that the city government is pushing out, the state is pushing out. So what we noticed is there was a lot of misinformation. So with the collaborative that we had with the city of Fargo, United Way, and the Ishara partnership, we were able to really dissect the information that were coming out and share with the new Americans and translating that into many different languages, really being a backbone support for that whole project for those groups that were working on it, really delivering hand sanitizing, masks, providing educational tools to how to properly wear a mask, how to properly sanitize your hands, and keeping social distance. So that project and collaborative effort really, really worked. Because individuals were now informed and they know they had a reliable source to go to. So one thing I would ask, and the reason why I brought that is for the city of Moorhead to really invest in that collaborative partnerships so that more individuals that do have barriers such as language really can access resources such as those collaborative efforts.
Katie, we can't hear you.
Oh,
Yes, now.
I don't know why my mic is wanting to flip back and forth from mute and unmute. I would really agree with what Ahmed is saying, and I loved what you said, Deb, about the diversity of this community versus New York. And people might be surprised to know that I might be off by a couple, but in the Moorhead Public Schools, we have about 28 different other home languages in play. Our top languages, other than English, are Kurdish, Somali, Arabic, Spanish, but we have, like 24 other languages than those. And although it is complex, some communities that have, some communities maybe have a fewer number of other languages in play. And we do have a lot in play, but we have some languages that we have high concentrations of people needing as their pathway to access information. And, in the school district, I can't, we struggle with this all the time. I just feel like we're just always taking baby steps in terms of being better about communicating in multiple languages. And one of the things that my teachers are often reminding me of is sometimes we'll get even excited about, technology. Now we can maybe quickly use some tech tools to do some quick written translation of documents. But we actually have lots of immigrants in our community who didn't ever have the opportunity to go to school and learn to read in their home language. So they're very dependent also on auditory translation of things. So, it's complex, but I think every time we can at least think about how can we communicate in a language, in the home language of the people we're serving. In the school district, we've gotten, we do written translation of our primary messages, although, the pandemic is such an example of the rate of communication and change and information that needs to be shared is just almost like overwhelming because, as you know, we're like reinventing ourselves every couple weeks, it seems. But but we've really started to rely more on getting audio translations that we can send out by phone to people that need information. And I don't know, even at the city level, you know, so I think every organization has to grapple with this for themselves, but we do live in a very diverse community where if we can all kind of find that place where we can remind each other that English isn't the only language in play in our community, and you know, information is power. And so I mean, I that's just something that I think is really important for us all to grapple with humbly together.
Any other comment, questions for Kerry and Ahmed? Hearing none. Thank you, both of you. Thank you for joining, and thank you for the good work that you guys did for this community. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Since we don't have agenda number 7, we are jumping agenda number 8, Human Rights Commission disclosure.
Yeah, and if you want to take a look in your packet, we have the updated statement that incorporated the changes that Deb and Mikkel had included. And I believe at this point, you guys are just going to review it quick and make sure you're happy with the final product, and then take a vote to approve it.
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve.
Deb approve. Deb,
I'll second.
Shingwa, you said you second?
Yes.
Yeah, Shingwa second.
Sorry, I'm having
You wanna
audio
make a
issues
call,
too,
Josh?
so I'm trying to.
Connie Auden,
Yes.
Deb White,
Yes.
Shinwar Mai,
Yes.
Mikkel Pauline Normandan,
Yes.
Eileen Cohen Pearson.
Agenda approved. Okay, agenda number 9, we have land acknowledgement discussion. Any further discussion for agenda number 9? Any question?
I don't think we got a copy of is there a draft? Because there wasn't one in the packet.
No, we didn't get one. Heather was going to send some samples, but I haven't yet received any.
So should we add next item or next
I would-
agenda or what?
Yeah, we could table this till our next meeting.
Yeah.
Done.
We move to agenda item number 10, reports, announcement, upcoming events.
Deb has her hand raised.
Yes.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks, Mr. Chair. I wanted to just mention a couple of things. One is I wanted to thank the North Dakota Human Rights Coalition. They hosted a community-wide MLK event. It was a virtual event. It was great. It included local artists and faith leaders, and was just another one of the nice things happening to celebrate Dr. King's contributions and to carry on his dream. I also wanted to mention that tomorrow evening at 7 p.m., Prairie Public is hosting a virtual screening of a film, and I will not, since I do not speak Spanish, I will give you the English translation, which is This Is My Home, and it's about Latino migrant farmers in the Red River Valley, the history of them in the Red River Valley, and it'll be followed by a panel, and I know that at least one of the panelists, Martha Castañon, is a Moorhead resident, and so it does require registration, but it's free virtual event, and if anyone wants to attend. And that's all I have. Thanks.
Thanks, Deb. Any other comment? Of course, we have a MLK Day event here in Moorhead as well, and it was online, just like many events happening for the celebration of this legacy. Most of the organizations, schools, and individuals celebrate this day by volunteering and their community as part of MLK service. And while inspiring and the approval of the fall and this year, and the question is why so much happening since last MLK Day that we did celebrate. Of course, COVID-19 pandemic is number one, the racial justice movement, and rising unemployment, a contentious election season, and many problems followed by. Most of these crises have impacted our Black community, of course, all Americans, as we had during the higher racial justice movement in 2020. Black community and their allies want less words and more action. The time for sharing platitudes or words of support has passed today, and most of the people need action. Most of our institutions, organizations, schools focus this, that they renew the fight for the civil right and justice. And I stand by organizations like many of our clients, partners who are invested in this mission of empowering lives and advocating for the social change. What to show to support for those organizations, most of those organizations are no longer want to neutral for this fight, but they want to stand against iniquities and injustice. They want to contribute and support for the conversation and reflection, the best stand of diversity and equity and inclusion in our community. But this is a complicated, laden conversation with long, traumatic history and generation of impacted community. The question is, how can we help in every community having a safe community conversation? Help the organizations find the best managing strategy and statistics to contribute to the community conversation. And we are trying to continue having community conversation where people will feel safe and comfortable to share the information or their stories. We have last agenda number 11, any new business? Hearing none, and the time is 5:35. I think we have plenty of time left if anyone want to share anything. I think we miss Heather. She was asking a lot of questions.
Mr. Chair, Connie, I just wanted to thank you for organizing those community conversations. I know we want to continue to do more of that. I appreciate your work on that.
You're welcome. All right, thank you everyone. That's all for our meeting tonight, and thank you for joining everyone. Good night.